LC, under the able leadership of Dr. Funsho Oladipo, for their vision in establishing a center focused on welfare of the children who find themselves in approved institutions as recognized by the government of Lagos State. I want to use this medium to commend Professor Yabode Oguniro, the Executive Director of the Voice of the Child Law Center, for her industry, ruggedness, tenacity, and sacrifice in ensuring that the center lives up to expectations. Professor Oguniro is a world-acclaimed expert in child law. By all indications, the center has lived up to its mission of assisting children develop to their full potentials through realization of their rights in Nigeria, regionally and internationally. The report by VTCLC is yet to be unveiled, but as my people will say, a parcel that is due for opening, there is no need to peep into it. So we are waiting for the presentation of this report with all its contents, which we believe will go a long way in setting the standards for the government in running or supervising these approved institutions. As organizers of this event had indicated, the duration of this event is just for 2 hours, but we are already behind time. So the guests will have time to attend to other commitments for the day. As our people will say, time na money. I will therefore appeal to all those billed to speak or make presentation at this occasion to do so within the allotted time. Once again, I wish to thank the organizers for finding me worthy of chairing this occasion. I wish everyone a successful event. Thank you very much.
Isaac, I'm not sure did anything bad at all. Please let me give him a round of applause. If you didn't tell us that you didn't do family law, we wouldn't have known. Thank you very much. Anyway, that's the tough of lawyers. We are learned people. It doesn't matter where we find ourselves. So, my Lord, esteemed ladies and gentlemen, this point in time, we want to have the first presentation, what the Voice of the Child Law Center is all about. And to do justice to that is no other person than Dr. Solomon Agboba, Governance and Fundraising Advisor of Voice of the Child Law Center. Please round of applause for Dr. Solomon.
Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. My name is Solomon. When I was growing up, I found a unique practice between my father and his friends. They were not called by first name. They had so many of them called by initials. So my father was D.I., David, and another I. His friends, one was S.O., B.S., so many names and so many initials. So for me, unknown to those who gave me these titles, some few years ago, they said Solomon is not going to be called Solomon anymore. He'll be called PPP. And I'll tell you what PPP means. I went to school and in 1990, graduated as a pharmacist, the first P. And later on, I married a physician. But they didn't include that in my sobriquet. What it did was to say, Solomon is also a pastor because I got ordained by Pastor E. Adeboye. And then later on my own, I said I needed to have some advantage in Nigeria. So I went for a 6-month course in the police training school. So I ended up as a policeman. So on and on, I found out that I was a pharmacist, a pastor, and a policeman married to a physician. But we're here because of somebody today. 12 years ago, I was asked by Mr. Oguniran to do the toast for celebration of the award of PhD to our, let me use the word celebrants today. And I told the audience while giving the toast that our dear doctor, then she was just a brand new, newly minted doctor, Iyabo Oguniran, has started a journey that I am prophesying that in another few years, her title will change. That was in 2012, about 12 years ago. And I said, some occasions from now in future, we have this couple being introduced as Mr. and Professor Mrs. Oguniran, because she's not going to just end up as a doctor. In another future from now, she will end up being a professor. Why our dear Egbon will remain as Mr. But he raised up his hand and said, by then, I will be called Otumba Hakim. So the last speed to my own name is Prophet Solomon Aigbawa. Good morning, everybody. And my prophecy came to pass last year when they, conferred, deservedly for that matter, professorship on our dear celebrant today. I'm here to just do about 10 minutes of presentation to tell us what this center is all about. And I already told us, as a pharmacist, I connect so much with what this law center stands for. But secondly, in one of my P's, I have the responsibility of coordinating a region in the Redeemed Christian Church of God that has 1,456 parishes in Lagos mainland, and as the coordinator of the junior church. And I have nothing less than 150,000 children and teenagers under my control. So as a pastor for the last 20 years, I've been so much involved with children. And so when I was asked to be advisor to these projects, I gladly accepted, especially coming from somebody that I cherish so much. The only thing is that I would have preferred that they change my title to project advisor so that another P will be added to my name. And then somehow, maybe there will be some other projects that I can superintend over. Now, so with my personal knowledge of the founder and our commitment and passion for the children, for children-related issues, I accepted to play this role. And that is why we are here this morning to look at what she has done in the last 2 decades of her career as a lecturer and now at the zenith of her profession. Now, for us, we know that in a different demographics that we have in Nigeria and all over the world, we have some groups that are vulnerable. And in most cases, we classify those groups as women and children. All over the world, you'll find out that if you bring out children from that demography, you have children at the receiving end of almost all the vicissitudes of life and the issues that we have. And so there has been a renewed commitment towards protecting the rights of children in Nigeria and, of course, all over the world. Technically, all the states have adopted the Child Rights Act and have domesticated same in their states. I'm sure when we hear the presenter speak, she will tell us more about that. But we still have some gaps, in what we have. Why some states have adopted that framework, some have just been playing lip service. And at the regional level, international, other developments that can be leveraged upon. So there are lessons to be shared. And I know that our presenter has been in the US, she has been in South Africa, and there are experiences that she's going to bring to bear today. And so unlike men, women, youth, children are very vulnerable, and that is why they will, in most cases, rely on the magnanimity of all of us who are in other demographics in terms of those of us who are older and can fight for ourselves. They don't have the voice, and they have to rely on you and I, to do their own speaking on their behalf. And so the mission of this center is to create a platform to give the children that needed voice in the scheme of things, and hence the name of the center is called the Voice of the Law of the Child Law Center. The vision statement, like you have also on the roll-up banner, is to ensure the effective implementation of children's rights in Nigeria, regionally and internationally. Of course, to do that as a mission is to assist the children to develop to their full potential through realization of their rights in Nigeria, regionally and internationally. And I'm sure, like we know, I have worked and served in Degema, Rivers State, in Elisha. I've served in Jos, that is living from 6 to 2 years. In Aba, I've served in Kano. But one of the things I've seen in our country is that if you go down or up the north, you find that the right of the child is relegated to the background. Of course, children and women, but mostly the children. And by the time they just give birth, they tell you that it is God that takes care of children. They give them a plastic plate and they say, go and fend for yourself. And so they don't see anything beyond, giving them that plastic plate. Or if you are a girl child, your best bet is that you can get to your teen years before being married out forcefully. And most cases against their wish, not even minding whether they have a voice to say, I want to be educated. Sometimes at the expense of their being disowned. If you speak up as a child in some parts of those of the north, you will not be listened to. Now, there are 4 values that this center holds dearly to its heart, and we have them, 6 of them: empathy, dignity, justice, peace, development, innovation, and of course, the payoff of the center is every child counts. And I also know that some of our cultures, when you have children, except you have the girl child, the man child, you have not had. And that is why you find, some families. I know of a very close friend of mine, the parent had 8 boys. And until they had the 9th child, even though very educated, they didn't stop because they wanted a girl. But their house was the reverse. But we know what happens in Nigeria, that if you have, the girl child maybe 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times, you may just be asked to either give way for another woman that will bet the hair of that family. And so in some way, whether gender or some rights, we have these children, at the receiving end of what we have culturally. Now, so the other objectives of this center is to conduct research, capturing what we have in Nigeria and identifying the gaps in the laws, the practices, and the policies that we have. Undertake laboratory studies in Nigeria, regionally and internationally. I'm also aware that some years ago, our celebrant went around the country training some judges on behalf of UNICEF. She was also in Johannesburg and Pretoria, University of Pretoria, to do some of those training. If necessary, embark on strategic litigation to broaden legal and social changes for the Nigerian children. And I'm sure that is where all of us have a part to play, because it's all projects that we can partake in. Engage in evidence-focused advocacy that will stimulate policy changes, as well as drive national plans of action in different areas of the child law. Now, in academia, we call it peer review. We call it in law. I think because of my association with lawyers, it looks like I may be speaking like a lawyer very soon. But they say evidence-based or evidence-focused, which means there is an empirical evidence to tell you that there is a need for this policy to be changed because of the research that has been done. So it's a product of those empirical findings that we think can, change our policies. Also, to create focal platform for sharing of ideas, experiences on global best practices with scholars and practitioners within Nigeria, regionally and internationally. I'm also aware that the celebrant on 2 occasions had to be called by a court in Canada to give an evidence concerning the case. There was a woman that jackpot with permit my language, with the daughter, and of course, the man, they went to court. It was a very messy case, but they had to rely on her video evidence, to give judgment. Of course, I know that the man had the judgment in his favor. And so whether in Canada or in Nigeria, you're going to have those kind of platforms being used to, vacillate some of the findings that this center will produce. And then lastly, to train, build capacity, and develop expertise to enhance children's rights in professional practice. What's the governance framework? We've been introduced to some of the trustee members, and we have a board of trustees comprised of highly accomplished professionals in several areas of endeavors: judiciary, medical, childcare, academia, legal practice, social work, etc. And of course, we also have a management team that has volunteers, research associates in relevant fields, law, social work, technology, and co. For me, I'm not just an advisor, I'm also an associate. That means that if there is anything that relates to the right of the child in terms of pharmaceutical formulation, I'm there to also serve, and produce some evidence-based reason why some things can be done for the children. For instance, when you formulate, some drugs, the reason why we do the sweetening of some syrup because of the child. So, but if you say because the child has to just take the medicine by force, and like we do, or used to do to us, they close the nose of the child and force that medicine. That is abuse of the child rights. And so in a way, in pharmacokinetics, what you do to also protect the child and the right of the child is to ensure that you mask the taste of that bitter chloroquine syrup with something that can be pleasant, not just because the child does not have a right to say this thing is too bitter. If you give a drug to some of us who are adults, say this one is too bitter, you drop it because you have your voice to speak. But the child speaks by crying, the next thing your nose is covered, and then the drug is pushed down your nose. It shouldn't be. I'm sure you agree with me. And probably you are a victim of such oppression by our parents. Right, so we have the board of directors from those that have been introduced. We have, somebody says it's too late. Our rights have been trampled upon. We don't have any rights up to litigation or appeal. The chairman is here, on as in the middle there, Funchal Ladipo, and of course we have other members of the board, and their profiles are quite, how you know them, some of them. I'll just run through. Of course, we know why we are here, and that is Professor Yabode Ogunye. She'll be coming very shortly to tell us, what she has found and her experience in this field. We also have a management and research team, and of course, we have the founder and the executive director, ably assisted by all of these. And they tell us, or they told us when we were doing management, courses in those that we should think out of the box. So the reason why you don't have me inside the bus is because I'm thinking out of the bus. So, ladies and gentlemen, just to round up the presentation, the intent, strategic for that matter, of this center is to have, 4 immediate areas of intervention. 1, to appraise, train, and the treatment of children in Lagos State approved children institutions. We'll have more of that in presentation very shortly. And then to have data protection and the children, Nigerian children, the surrogacy and children rights. We have children associated with armed conflict and child protection. Now, I have not been asked to do this last one, but I'm going to tell us something, that this center has been in operation for about 4 years, but the formal launch is what we are looking at today. The funding has been through the seed fund that was provided by the founder's family at Zimia Realty, and that was about 10 million naira some few years ago. And some few days ago, I got some alarm because of my capacity as the advisor on fundraising. And the alarm, for some people here, I don't want to mention them, but I can see one of them looking at me. He's wearing cap, but it was a 7-digit figure, and another one gave, another 7-digit figure. So I've had people with generous hearts giving to support this. So if you love children, not necessarily because you have 9 children or 10 children, but because you are very much in tune with the intent, the core value, and what this center stands for, please just say me after. Normally we say after the service where I come from, but after the program. I'm not going to pass any bag around to say, please drop, your offering or something. But I want to appeal to you. It is not a day for fundraising, but it would be very nice if we have those of us who can associate and support the cause of this center, support in any way. And like we say, nothing is too small for lunch in Paris. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Solomon, for that brilliant, brilliant speech. Well done, well done. Please, let's give him a round of applause again. So in essence, you have a good perspective of what this program it's all about, or what the center stands for. And of course, you now know that the voice of a child has to count one way or the other, and starting with us in this room. I liked what you said about that time in our lives when we had no choice but to take those pap or ogi, whatever it was. You just must take it in. They will close your nose, close your everything, and we will give you some slap in your bum bum if you don't do it. But now the voice of a child has to count. Very soon we're going to have the chairperson, or I'm sorry, the lead facilitator of that center will come up and give us her own perspective, insight into a paper that had been well researched that she gave, that she wants to tell us about what we need to know about children. But before I do that, I need to do some recognitions quickly of some people that came in while we're still going on. First, let me talk about, or let me introduce Mrs. Obilano Adenike, who is representing the PAMSEC of Ministry of Youth and Social Development. Please, wherever you are, can you stand up for recognition? Thank you very much. And also, let me recognize the representative of the Honorable Commissioner for Youth and Social Development, also Mr. Via Bono for Lawrence Shaw. Please, you're welcome. Please, you're welcome. Also, that came in a very eminent personality that also came in with us when we're talking or when we're discussing is Otumba Tobiloba Lawal, the Group MD of Ibile Holdings. Please. Thank you very much, Otumba. Also, someone worked in also while the program was going on, is Mr. Tunde Busari, the past chairman of ICSAN and SAN. Please let me celebrate Mr. Tunde Busari. Let me not forget Mrs. Buki Uluyadi, the head of corporate services, Polaris Bank. She's in here. Where's she? Oh, okay. You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. You're welcome. And also, oh, this should have come immediately after him. Mrs. Jibola Tobilawa, founder of Law Sense Initiative. Where are you? Please pardon me. Pardon me. That's the wife of Otumba Tobilawa. Please, you're welcome, sir. You're welcome, ma. You're welcome, sir. And also, let me recognize Mrs. Ini Abimbola, the Vice President of Sustainability Professionals Institute of Nigeria, SPIN. Please, you're welcome. You're welcome. Right now, let me call on no other person than the real celebrant of today's occasion. That is our dear professor, the real professor, the wife of Mr. Akim Oguniro. Professor Yabode Oguniro, please let me celebrate. My Lord, as I step here now, I need your protection because I just said Mr. and they might be waiting for me there. But please, let's celebrate Professor Iyabode Oguniro, the wife of Mr.
Good morning, everybody. I will stand on existing protocol. I know we've been making introductions. I want to say thank you for coming. And then since about 2 days ago, I've been thinking that, this whole idea about working with children, writing in children area is, started a long time ago, maybe about 20 years ago. And at that time, it was like, are you serious? Are you serious with all the areas of law? You want to write on children? And I remember that for a year, I was just stuck. Am I doing what is right? But today, when I see people warming up to us talking about children, it really gladdens my heart that we've really moved forward, even in Nigeria. Please, let's clap for ourselves. Let's clap for ourselves. And also coming from our background, where I remember growing up, even when you are around your parents, it's just for you to sit down. You're not supposed to say anything. So for us to be talking about our children today, I think that we've really come a long way in Nigeria, in Africa, and worldwide. So my presentation, because I don't want to really take time, is a report on the study of the training and treatment of children in the Lagos State approved children's institutions. But I will start by giving a little bit of background about myself. And like I said, let's just think about this, that we may be aware and we may not be aware, but when we are talking about children, we are talking about probably those who are below the, ages of 18 years. And this time, the time we are talking about, is a time that is very impressionable. That is when they develop all their skills, whether it's emotional skills, whether it's social skills. That's when they grow up. So researchers have shown that the best time, or the best place for us to raise our children is normally in the family environment, with both parents. But if this is not going to be possible, let's even create something like a family type, environment. And I also want us to think about it. In Nigeria today, according to UNICEF reports of last year, they told us that we have about 110 million children in Nigeria. So in a population of, let's say, above 200 million, and we have 110 million children, that means that whatever we are doing, we should start to think about them, in another way. My own background, a journey of almost 2 decades, just like I have said, started when UNICEF came to UNILAG and they wanted to do a research on child protection issues. At that time, I think I joined the faculty in 2003, and they started that research in 2005. I wasn't even part of it, but around 2006, 2007, I became part of the project, and we traveled all over Nigeria, so many states in Nigeria then. That was 2006, 2007. And there were 3 thematic areas at that time. We looked at child labor, youth crime, and sexual exploitation of children. And somehow I became the Lagos coordinator because the person that was supposed to do it just opted out. And I remember we went to Ekpe, Badagry, and so on and so forth. And I started looking at it that probably this may be an area for me. So when I wanted to do my PhD in 2007, I think I started in 2007, it was like, okay, which area should I even, develop interest in? My professor then told me that you are teaching constitutional law with us, and we just want you to write in the area of constitutional law. It was very appealing to me. But after a long time, I went back to them. I said, I would like to research in the area of in child law. And it was very daunting. At that time, there was even no literature. Thank God that I had the opportunity to be traveling. I was going to the Institute of Advanced Legal Studies in London to go and gather materials as at that time. And I finished in 2012. In the course of even doing the PhD, I had to go to University of Pretoria Center for Child Law in South Africa. And I met Professor Ann Skelton. She's the chairperson of the UN Committee on the Rights of the Child today. So the way she took that course, because I was writing and I was also auditing child law with her, with a lot of passion, the things they are doing. So I said, maybe this is a really good area. And she encouraged me. When I finished my PhD, she told me, she said, this is the time for you to go and start your center. That was in 2012. And this is 2024. I said, start my center with all the university requirements for you to really go forward, all your publications and everything. And family, I couldn't, it was just like, let it be there. So, well, I listened. I was thinking about it, but not too much. And also went on, when I also went on sabbatical leave to University of Reading, I was also fortunate to meet Professor Hamilton. She had retired from the university and working with, she now set up Quorum International. So we got talking, and I was telling my husband this morning, immediately I got there, very receptive. She took me for lunch. I mean, I'm a boy woman. She took me for lunch. Then quickly they created an office for me. Of course, I was just laughing that what, but somehow I think all this prepared me somehow that this is an area that I could really, work on. Of course, I'm being in the children's church and everything, but meeting professors like that and working in that area, I said, well, maybe me too, I can make something, out of this area. And that was how that law started. And when I finished, I started writing in different areas of child law. I didn't limit myself to child justice again. Trafficking, education, children, and every area, you know. And then she came back to Nigeria, Professor Hamilton, and said she has a project with UNICEF on child justice reforms in Nigeria. And that was how I was part of the national consultant. And we developed education guideline for Benue State and Cross River State. We trained, social workers, judges all over Nigeria. I remembered going from Jos, from Jos to Kaduna State. At that time, the country was still a little bit, safe with UNICEF, with your van. But here we are today. And then, with that knowledge, I've been working in that area. And when the university said that we should, there is need for more courses to be introduced, of course, I developed the curriculum for Child Law 1 and 2, which we now teach at the Faculty of Law, University of Lagos. It was like some of the lecturers were saying, why should they put it as a year 5 course when they know that these students, they are already, trying to read, they want to pass, they want to go out, they don't really have time again. That we did take child law as an elective course, but these students, they come all the time, and I'm happy that every time we finish that class, they will tell me that they have learned something, they can relate with children better. This semester, about 65 students, maybe they are online now, some of them may be online. About 65 students are taking this course this semester. So, in 2013, yes, that's the brief background relating, leading to this research. In 2013, I now went, that was immediately after my PhD program, because the PhD, my major challenge was that I just did desk review, because they told me that I'm not in the I don't have the social science background, and I can't go to the field, that they will take me up during maybe defense and everything. So I used the literature review of different researches. So when I finished, I went to meet Professor Nwana. Professor Nwana, are you here now? Thank you very much. A very senior colleague, but very helpful. So I just went to her. I said, ma, please, let's do research in this area, at least Lagos State. And she just said, okay. And we wrote a proposal to the Central Research Committee of the university, and they approved. And that was how, she's my big auntie. She did the research questions, and we went to the field, and we did our research, and we published it. We went to the police, we did questionnaire, police, MBA, family court, OPD, and 4 of the approved children institutions that I'll be talking about today. So we published it, our report. Of course, we even did some publications. We made some publications, both national and international, and we eventually published it into a book that our students are still using up to today. The former Attorney General of Lagos, Adedeji Kazeem, came at that time to launch it for us. But in respect of this approved children institution, of course, we had some findings at that time about lack of recreational facilities, insufficient funding, and so on and so forth. And after that, I remember that we did some training, training of magistrates, training of police officers about some of these recommendations. But in my working, I'm always seeing that concerning these approved children, I don't even know much about the activities, what is happening to them. They don't come for the training. So it has always been in my mind that I have to go back to go and see these people. Why is it that all the trainings I've been doing, I don't even see, the correctional officers and their activities? I don't even know. So the researcher in me, I said, one day I'm going to go back to find out what is happening in this approved children institution. I actually did that in 2021, which I did for some years, about 2 years or so, before writing out my reports. So setting the context for this research, we've been talking about children, and the whole idea, the framework started from the Child Rights Act that we have in Nigeria. But before the Child Rights Act, of course, we have for children, taking care of children, maybe child offenders, lost and found children. You have remand centers, approved institutions, Boston institution, and prisons. That's where they normally take them to. Remand centers, they are for children who are awaiting trials. Approved institution, maybe they've gone to court, there is a pronouncement, they keep them there for training. Boston is for children who are above 16 years but below 21. Then, even though the children are not supposed to be in prisons, but when you still go to some of our prisons, you see children there. Then, in 2003, the Child Rights Act was, enacted for Nigeria, for Abuja. And I don't want to go into the whole history of that, but it was enacted for Abuja, even though it was from an international convention. And then states started to adopt it because children issues are what on the residual list. So you have the child rights law. Lagos State adopted in 2007, and they now change this, approve some of these centers. The child rights law says that the approved children institution should be children attendance center, children's center, just like we have it here. So what Lagos did was that the boys remand home, Oregun, was named the special correctional center. Girls remand home, Idiaraba, became the special correctional center for girls. Approved schools, they now named it correctional center. Then you still have the children's center, and then the approved school. So the approved schools, they are just for training. They should be for training of offenders. Then you have remand centers. They keep children, maybe they are waiting trials, just like they remand those who are waiting trials. But approved schools, they should be for training and correction of children. So when we are talking about training and treatment, just like I've said in my presentation, or the title of this study, training is basically education and vocational. That is, apart from going to school, they should also learn some skill, barbing, hairdressing, weaving, then treatment of children, counseling, visitation, medical care, food and bedding, and that there should not be use of corporal punishment. So when we say training of children and treatment of children, this is what we're actually looking at in those institutions. So child and juvenile, for this gathering, I would just say that, of course, a child, like I've said, is somebody who is below 18 years. But when you're talking about juvenile, they normally relate it to offenders. When you talk about juvenile, maybe a child that has committed an offense. But with the Child Rights Act now, you will see that there is a whole chapter there on treating of children, on justice administration. So you can say that whether it's a juvenile or child offenders, or whether it's you are just talking about children, everything is now, articulated in the Child Rights Act or the Child Rights Law. Then the objective, I now said, okay, let me now go out to do this research. And the key objective of that research is just to assess how these children, how they are trained. You know, they are training in all these institutions that I've mentioned. Oregon, Isheri, the correctional centers, and the approved, and the correctional centers and the special correctional centers. How are these children to assess their training, that is the vocational and the educational training, then treatment, that is, do they have, is there time for visitation? Do you have counseling? Do you have medical treatment for them? Then what kind of disciplinary measures are being meted out to these children, and to make recommendations? Expected outcomes, just like we are gathering here today. The first one is that we want these children. We can't say that, okay, because they are there, we want them to be part of the society. How can they develop to their full potential? What can we do about it? How can we improve their condition? Then, to expand law, institutional, and policy reforms. I'm expecting that because we have stakeholders here today, they can see the presentation and say, okay, go and write a proposal, or maybe part of the recommendations. These are the things you are looking at. These are the things you are seeing. Let us improve, you know, the lots of the children, you know, in the institutions. So conceptual framework, I'm not in the social sciences, and I had to, Dr. Iboka, are you here? Please stand up for recognition. He designed this conceptual framework for me. And he had to explain. I said, I don't understand. He took his time to explain, and over time before I said, okay, I'm now comfortable to use it, because I'm not a sociologist and I'm not in the social work, so I can't really do this. So he said, we use the Prince Nico correctional framework. And what we are talking about is that when these children are in these centers, the major thing is that we want them to reintegrate into society, as, you know, to be constructive member of the society. We don't want the fact that they've gone to those institutions to affect them in life. We want them to be able, you know, to be constructive member of the society, that they won't have anything in their psyche that have been to this center before, then they use it to start to behave, or that will be their outlook to life. No, that's not what we want. We want them to reintegrate and become useful member of the society. So there should be training for them, and there should be treatment. Who will help is the environment. At the macro level is the government, the NGOs, just like we are doing at VTCLC today, you know, pointing out the gaps in their training and treatment. The meso, the correctional officers, they too, they are part of it, because they are with these children all the time. Then how the micro, how will these children internalize all the training? And if everything is working, what do we have? We have positive outcome, and there will be better reintegration. But there can be challenges if the family, they are not involved, and if the community too, they are not involved. So what we are saying is that the correctional centers, they are for training, but we have other people, we have other members of the society at the macro, at the meso, and the micro level that will really help effective reintegration. Methodology is a cross-sectional and a qualitative research, because we just took one unit of the society, that is the approved children institution. It's a qualitative research because we went and looked at those children in their normal setting, in their social and normal setting, going to the correctional children's center, Idiaraba, Children Correctional Center for Girls, Idiaraba, Correctional Center for Junior Boys, Birel Yaba, Special Correctional Center for Girls, Idiaraba, Special Correctional Center for Boys, Oregon, and Correctional Center for Senior Boys, Isheri. So it's a triangular method of study. We drafted interview interview format, and there was also participant of the observation, because as we were interviewing, we were also looking at those children to see that whether all the questions we are even asking, to really relate it with them, they are giving us the right answers, and looking at their conditions as well. Then field work, I think I should go to that. Field work took place between from 2021 to March 2024, and I got a research assistant. Ms. Adela Gun was my research assistant. Please stand up, ma. Thank you very much. Was a volunteer. Didn't take any money from me. She just said, I'm interested, and she retired as a family court assessor. So all our experience, she really helped out. So we collected the data from them without ethical issues. We observed consent, their consent were taken, consent was taken. Then the KII was transcribed. I had to do that for months. I was still writing alone. Then secondary data was analyzed using content analysis. That is, all the ones I said about children, about the correctional center, about the history, they were all literature that I analyzed. Then the research, all the findings, all their reports, all the answers were analyzed through an inductive approach, bringing out and trying to, at times when you do that, you see pattern about feeding, pattern about visitation, pattern about counseling, pattern about vocation, pattern about education. So capacity utilization of the center. This center, you can see that the capacity is what is in the middle. Children's center, you have 60. This is what's their capacity. But for me, what I could, I'm after, writing, my observation is that, of course, if you read the utilization, you will see that most of the centers, they don't have like children up to the fullest capacity. It's good because you can say that probably the facility is not that overstretched. But I'm just saying that in Lagos State, where you have about 25 million population, and you just have capacity for this number of children, and then the capacity is not even fully utilized, probably many people are not aware about, the activities of this center, just like I suspected. Most people are not aware about the activities. So going to the different centers now, the Children's Center Idiaraba. The findings there is that you have 4 categories of children. You have child offenders, children in need of care and protection, children who are rescued, children who are there for shelter, maybe they are sexually abused, or there is flood, or there is problem in the family. But if you look at the child rights law and what this center should really be for, it should be for children who are awaiting trial, or children who have been given disposition measures. Those are the children that should be there originally. But you have different forms of, different types of, different categories of children in this center. And another thing is that as a result of that, you will see that most of the treatment is not really like, is not, if the center is for child offenders, the treatment will have been for child offenders, and it will go like parallel. But now you have 4 different types of children there. Most of the officers that we interviewed said, well, they are trying, but there is nothing they can do. They just have to generalize everything. So based on that, the recommendation is that there is a provision in the child rights law, and it's saying that, please, I'll need water. Thank you. Thank you. Which says that, sorry, that the center should be for child offenders. So we are suggesting that probably there must be a care center for other categories of children, so that the treatment will really be tailored towards those children. Then in the short term, a structured plan should be in place for the need assessment of the children in the various categories. You understand? Every time you want to treat them, there should be needs assessment that, okay, these are child offenders, this is what they need. They are even there for different reasons. Murder, stealing, you know. So the need assessment is what we normally do, those in social work. Ms. Omowurare, you taught me that. So there must be need assessment before you even try to do any kind of intervention in the first place. So in the short run or in the short term, there should be need assessment for these children for proper intervention. So then the Children Correctional Center, Idiaraba, is just by the side. Here you have children ages between ages 11 to 17 years. And our findings reveal that there are even children with disability in that center. You know, children with disability, that is like higher form of treatment again. They are there. Then it was very difficult for us to access up-to-date information. They will just tell you, I'm here between so and so number of years. I don't know what had happened before. Then I will now be wondering, don't you have records? Don't you have records there? They will say, okay, we submit record that allows her, but you can give us something now. So those are some of the things that major findings at that center. So our recommendations, one is that children with disabilities should be transferred to appropriate school so that at least they can have the kind of training and treatment or training or education that can make them to face the society. Then there should be central data. Even when you have the central data at Alausa, there should be continuous updating of all these, of their records. Then Children Correctional Center for Junior Boys, Burel, Yaba. Formal training in private schools is an open center. These children, they go to school outside the facility. Formal training in private school is facilitated by outsiders. Vocational training is also very limited unless they are private sponsors. Then there is no internet connectivity. The children were just lamenting that during COVID period, they couldn't, you know, they were not able to join their schools because there was no internet connectivity in that center. So they missed out for that period of, you know, COVID-19. And for me, especially this center, looking at those children, they are boys. They are basically boys, and relating with them. I just thought, like, most of us here, we don't even know about these centers. I remember when I was celebrating my 40th birthday, 40th birthday, and I just wanted to visit somewhere like this. I didn't know about this type of center. I went to one orphanage that I didn't even know what they used, what they did with what I gave them. So this is an eye-opener to all of us that we can visit some of these centers. Maybe you just feel like celebrating something. You can just go and look at their needs and try to do something for them. So there is need for awareness creation about their function so that more private individuals can visit and do something for them. Then internet connectivity. Up till March when I went, because I still went to update my data, they still don't have internet. So many of them, they do their assignments from school. And if there is no internet in school again, that means that they won't do their assignments. What's up? Okay. Correctional Center for Girls, Idiaraba. Children from the center, they come from different states across the country. Then here you have sexually abused children there. And it becomes very important where you have sexually abused children, that counseling must be personal. But in most of the center, in all the centers, counseling is just like, okay, the social welfare officers, that the one doing the counseling. They go for group counseling, but individual counseling, especially for children like this who are maybe going through one form of trauma or the other, they need personal counseling. They need people that, counselor that they can really relate with. Then some of them that are offenders, they told us, the principal or the correctional officer said there is always delay in getting DPP's advice, that it doesn't come out on time. So we are making recommendations, individual counseling for sexually abused children. Then we are appealing to the DPP's office. We don't know whether the DPP is around now. Oh, he's on his way. That they should work, quickly. Anytime they see that the file is from these centers, they should work on it quickly so that we can have quick dispensation of justice for these children. Then Special Correctional Center for Junior Boys, Oregun. Stealing is the most rampant offense among the child offenders. They also complain about delay in getting DPP's advice. Then OPD is always there for these children, representing them in court. Thank you, Mrs. Ajayi. But they said that they don't have enough, officers from OPD. Then the children also mentioned that a female counselor is designed for, that they have a female counselor, that's why they don't go for counseling. So we are saying that counselors should be of the same sex at the center. Then we should have lawyers. MBA is Mr. Sheyi here. He's not yet here. That MBA should do what? The Nigerian Bar Association, they should have pro bono services for these offenders. They should go to all these centers too. And even lawyers, private law firms can always take this up, that there will be adequate representation for the child offenders. Then about the DPP's office. Then we also want to talk about the fact that you have a lot of the children, a lot of the offenses being stealing. You can have diversionary measures, which is provided for in the child rights law. Restitution, compensation of victims there are some of the measures that can be used instead of putting these children in these centers. Then we have the final one, which is the senior boys, Isheri. That's the last center. It's an open facility. Children from there also go to school outside. It's the last center. Most of the children there, they must have gone through all these centers before they now take them to this center. Day, all the centers should have, innovative way of recording. Strategic public-private partnership. That's why we are here today. When we finish from here, we can also visit these centers. Public enlightenment, that's what we are doing. Building collaborative platforms. Yes, I know that UNICEF does a lot of work in this area, but we still need other organizations. And it will be from MYSD. I'm always telling them, every time I go there, I'll say, why is it that you only rely on funding from just Lagos State? Can't you do something with other international agencies? Then leveraging MYSD publicity initiatives, website and social media handles will really help. If you go to the MYSD handle today, you will see that for me, I think they can do more, projecting some of the things they are doing. International organizations will just be interested in working with them. But, well, that's a recommendation. Then special recommendations. The child rights law, as there is a provision there, there is a section there on how this approved children institution should be structured. And I think Lagos State should comply with it. They're basically for offenders. So if they want other children to be there, you can have care centers. There is an urgent need to separate the 4 categories of children. That's when you can really have, effective restorative programs. Then the common offense committed by children, like I've said, is stealing. And you can have diversion, maybe from the police, and where they even have to go to court. The court can always use restorative justice and, community service. They don't need to send them back to that center. The Ministry of Justice, DPP, I'm priority in getting in the DPP working on their files and treating it with dispatch so that these children will leave that center as quickly as possible. I've spoken about MBA working pro bono service. I can't even see. Then parents, there is a lot of problem with visitation. Parents don't visit their children. I think we should continue to talk about this. Even those who have schools should continue to talk about, parents visiting their children, parents, being responsible, especially for children there. Then ICT is needed. The can't see it, but children with disabilities should be taken to appropriate schools. I've said that. Implementation of capacity building initiative for social welfare officers. There is need for training and retraining and training. This is very, very urgent for the social welfare officers. Then stakeholders engagement. This is very important. Judges who are working in family courts, magistrates who are working in family courts, assessors, head of this correctional institution, they should, maybe they need to form an association, because I'm always saying that these approved institutions, they are just like at the back end. Nothing gets to them. Nothing whatsoever. So if we have this kind of stakeholders meeting, stakeholders engagement, then that channel of communication will be there, and there'll be progressive way of even teaching and training these children. Then I also talked about interagency cooperation. That is one thing about this area of child law. You can't do it alone. Ministry of Youth and Social Development cannot do it alone. OPD cannot do it alone. They have to work with Ministry of Education, Ministry of Health, Ministry of Justice, the police, all hands. It's a collaborative work. Every area of child law, especially in this area of child protection. These institutions, there must be collaboration. And I said that the philosophy is what? Winning collaboration and not harmful competition. I remember OPD at that time and the WAPA. It was and WAPA, you know. So what we are talking about is just collaborating, not who is superior and who is working more. So closing thoughts. You can see that everything I've been saying, if we really want to do it as a state and as a country, we will spend a lot of money. It's capital intensive. But then the question is not whether we can afford to invest in every child. It is not whether we can afford to invest in every child. It is whether we should really afford in them. It is not whether we can afford to invest. It is whether we should say we are not investing in them. If we are not investing in them, what will happen? We are leaving a part of our population, and we know what can happen to them when we leave them and we don't carry them along. Children are the world's most valuable resource and the best hope for the future. They are the future, whether we like it or not. And every child counts. So we can't say, okay, we are just going to take care of our own children alone. If we don't take care of all the children, they will not allow our children to rest. So they must all get along. And they are all uniquely made by God. If you relate with those children, you see that they have great potentials. So the future is not something we just enter. The future is something we create. And we create it right from now with everybody, with all the children getting along in it. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you very much. How many minutes?
Professor. Allah, Professor. Please let me put a good round of applause for Professor Iyabode Oguniro. Last prof. Well put together, well presented. Please, once again, let's celebrate Professor Oguniro. The paper is already, you have it in the book form, and it's a work that has been completed. As you can see, the quality of the paper is such that it cannot be said that it's quite of a high standard. Well, thank you very much. And many of us here today, we are products of, Yorubas will say Agbawabura, Pewe Oshiori. Many of us at some point in time, our parents or people are thought that we're delinquents. And for some reasons, we changed and became what we are today. So many of us, this is what we're talking about. Some of the things that some of us did, if it were possible, some of us would have been somewhere else, just that our parents managed it, they helped us. And it's about time we realize that this is very necessary to understand that the voice of the child needs to be heard. Once again, let's celebrate Professor Oguniro for this brilliant presentation. It's not a fundraising event at all in any way, but for whatever it is worth, this center needs to be supported, because it's something that we really need to talk about it quickly. And so an account will be posted online or on here. That's just for those of us who really feel they deserve support one way or the other. Please make sure that you help in that regards to put. Okay, the account is already there. Already there as well. So right now we're going to just round up because we have some special messages, endorsements. Yeah, account number 1100114535. Okay, please take it up. Take it up, please. I want it to take it up. Voice of the, yes, the bank. Okay. So we're going to have some special messages of endorsements from very, very engaged and high stakeholders of this center. So first, we're going to have Professor Diane Gratti from Loyola University, Chicago, USA, online. Will come and just give us our endorsement. Then to follow by Professor Caroline Hamilton from Coram International London, who also give us our own special message as well. Then Mrs. Toyin Bashon, SAN, will come up and also give our own endorsement special message, followed also by Mr. Dennis Onoise from Child Protection Unit of UNICEF. Thereafter, Mrs. Ubilara Adenike will also give a word from the commissioner. Let's have them come up quickly. Thank you.
Hi there, I'm Diane Garrity, and it's an honor to be with you today for the launch of the Voice of the Child Loss Center. I'm sorry I can't be with you there in person, but thanks to the world of technology, I am able to greet you and wish you the best. I've been asked to say a little bit about my own background, which is a pleasure to do, and I've had a chance to read the background of other board members as well. For most of my career, I taught at Loyola University Chicago, which is a Jesuit law school based in Chicago, where I taught originally constitutional law, administrative law, but in 1993 was the founding director of the Civitas Child Loss Center. The purpose of this center was to prepare law students to represent the legal interests of children in their careers. Up until that time, lawyers were able to, as law students, specialize by taking courses in corporate law or competition law or administrative law. But there was no such thing as a legal specialty in preparing people to represent children and their families. And that was the vision and the mission of the Civitas Child Law Center. Today, that center is a center that has allows students to take courses in a broad spectrum of legal matters that impact children, everything from domestic law to children in conflict with the law, to child abuse and neglect, to immigration, to child abduction, and to issues of health and well-being. And I'm proud of the fact that graduates of our scholarship program at the Civitas Child Law Center now number over 200, with most of them continuing to represent children and families in their professional lives. As a result of the work of the Civitas Child Law Center, I have had an opportunity to serve as a consultant in other parts of the world as well, with UNICEF, for example, in Thailand, in Vietnam, and in West Africa. I've also had an opportunity to teach courses in places such as Addis Ababa. So my background, I hope, will be of assistance to the Voice of the Child Legal Center as it launches and carries out its mission. And I'm very proud to be affiliated with the center. I want to close by thanking the professor who made this all possible, who, despite a very busy schedule, has remained committed to the idea of a law center that supports students as well as those in the community. And it's, again, my honor to be part of this initiative. All the best.
I then had the privilege of working with her on a long contract where she Hello, everybody. I'm sorry I can't be with you today, and I have to talk to you through video. But I am very happy to see the launch of the report on the study of training and treatment of children in the Lagos State Children's Correctional Institutions. I also wanted to congratulate Professor Oganaran on her report. I first met the professor in the UK when she came to give a lecture at a very prestigious barristers' chambers in London about juvenile justice law in Lagos State. I then had the privilege of working with her on a long contract where she completed the adjudication guidelines for Lagos State and Cross River State, and also working with her on the development of the family court rules and the child protection regulations, again for Lagos State and Cross River State. She's made a huge contribution to child law in Lagos State and is one of the few people who is truly knowledgeable about issues of child law in Nigeria. I hope the launch is a great success, and I look forward to reading the report and hope that you have a very good launch.
Thank you very much. So we're having a good time here, Prof. We're having a good time. So right now I'm going to call on Mrs. Toyin Basharon to give her own message. Please come. Please round of applause for her. Mrs. Toyin Basharon's SAN. Please come up. You're welcome.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon, everyone. Is it? Oh, okay. Good morning, everyone. I'm really, really happy to be here. I've been a litigator for about 30 years or more. And in course of litigating, I've come across different areas. I started with international economic law. But because, like my former boss will say of blessed memory, Chief Rotimi Williams, you don't determine what you litigate on. Well, once they come, you research the field and you do the work. So when the child's right law was promulgated, I took a lot of interest in it because I realized that we need to handle that area, the children, with a lot of caution. So with time, I did so many matters involving children, cross-border, within Africa, Nigeria. And I found that as parenting can be in two ways. Either we parent them directly or indirectly, maybe the orphanages and then the correctional centers. So when Dr. Oguniran called me and said, oh, SIS, that's what we call ourselves, short form for sister. We're both Christians. We've worked together. When she called me and said, SIS, I'm trying to do this. I said, it's true. Anytime I pass by those correctional centers, they're like walls. You just don't know what's going on in there. And most, like she said, they're talented children there. If they are properly reformed and corrected, they could benefit the society. So I did a comparison with the UK. I used the UK model. And I found that right from the beginning, they don't mix up these children. They create a system. Yeah, they too, everywhere. Funding is an issue everywhere. And for me in Nigeria, I'm very upset because we hear 80 billion was recovered. Something. I'm always so upset when I read about those figures. There is no free money. Every money somebody takes, some aspect of the society suffers for it. So if somebody is taking 80 billion, that 80 billion will do a lot to help the correctional centers, at least for the children. The grown ones are already formed. They're just kind of reintegrating them. But for these children, if those correctional centers are properly funded and given the proper attention, then we would have solved half of the population's problem. We got the figure today, we're half. So for me, that was why when she said it, I jumped. In fact, at the incubation stage, she would call me. I'll say, I'm on the bridge, oh, ẹ jẹ́ ká máa sọ̀rọ̀ lọ. And then she would say, oh, jẹ́ ká ṣe báyìí, jẹ́ ká ṣe báyìí. Why? Because there was a major cross-border case that we collaborated upon. In fact, it will get to a stage where we'll sit on the floor in her office. So much as, yes, international economic law, environment law, yes, that's my field, but I had to deviate. And since I've deviated into these child rights issues, we've come up with good locus classicus in the Supreme Court. We have good attention. You can't stop anybody from giving blood to children anymore now. You can't stop a girl child from inheriting her father's property anymore. So the law is helping. But what matters now is to concentrate on the places we send them to for correction. How do we correct them? Do we end up making them worse? Or do they realize? I mean, we have children who were naughty. Even in secondary school, there were boys that we used to be very afraid to associate with. Some of them are my best friends today. But at that time, they had a challenge. It's a mental issue. So these are things that the state should, Lagos has tried, I must say. But there's still room for more. I'm happy I'm sitting with Mr. Martins because he knows that I'm going to dissect him very soon. But I just believe that this is a laudable project. It's very timely. Children do have a right. And we just have to accept that. Right not to argue with us as parents. Right not to be corrected, no. But right to be protected and nurtured. My daughter will tell me, Mommy, do you know how many times you've insulted me today? I'll say, right, you know, but really, it's good to help them to develop that self-esteem. And in cases where they have deviated, we need to get back the self-esteem and point them in the right direction. So I'm happy to be here. I endorse the project. I'm happy they've said we could donate. I've been donating, actually, giving my time. Whenever advices come, I give it. I don't even bother to ask her to pay me. But if I have to do more, I'm willing because this is our future. I endorse the book and I think we should all be part of it. Thank you. You didn't time me, but I timed myself.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Please, a round of applause for the learner's sake. Thank you very much. Please permit me. I need to do this because I've done a very good oversight over time. Tomorrow, by God's grace, I'll be 25 years in marriage. And one of the people that helped me to prepare my wife as a grandchild is actually seated in this room, and I've not recognized him so far. And I need to do that because so that they don't take my wife back to anywhere, correctional, whatever. Please help me to welcome Professor Kolapo Omijire of the Federal University. Oye Ekiti, please. Also in the house is our learned friend, very good friend of the house, Dr. Jide Martins, Director of Public Policy in Lagos State. So if any one of you offends me, I know who to send your file to. Is there. Now, also, please, we also have in the house, not yet. I want to also welcome especially the Honorable Justice Sherry Sholebo, retired. She's in the house. My Lord, you're welcome. My Lord, you're welcome. And also to recognize Mrs. Bisi Ajayi Kayode of Sisiyara Child Advocacy Center. You're welcome. She just stepped out, that's why I'm going out. Also, Ajayi Yetunde, Mr. Ajayi Yetunde of the Office of Public Defender. Where is she? You're welcome. Welcome. She just stepped in. Welcome. So let me just call right now another person to come and give us our own endorsement or his own endorsement of this program. Mr. Dennis Onoise of the Child Protection Unit of UNICEF. Your please a round of applause for him. Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, I'll beg to stand on existing protocol. I really want to start by congratulating Professor Oguniran. This is a very, very, very special thing you have done, and this is what UNICEF is looking at. I'm here standing representing UNICEF. 2 days ago, the chief of the Child Protection Section in Abuja called me and said, Dennis, I don't think there is anybody among us who know Professor Oguniran better than you. So I would love you to go to this occasion and please represent us. So I smiled and I said, yes, I've known her since 2016 when I came to Lagos and started work as child protection specialist for the Lagos Field Office. Mrs. Oguniran have done quite a number of things. For those of us in child protection, the issue of children is not something that everybody understands, particularly when you talked about training and treatment. The work she has presented is such that anybody who knows where some of these children are coming from and the kind of challenges these children face will understand that special attention must have been given to the work that is presented, particularly when you are looking at children in correctional centers. I think I first met Dr. Oguniran then, Professor Oguniran, at a point when we were trying to start up the diversion program, which only Lagos State implemented up till recently. The diversion program for us as UNICEF was to say some of these children who are sentenced to prisons or detained in police station for like a week or 2 weeks, when the law actually says they cannot be there with the police. And you are talking about children who may have just stolen 100 naira or 200 naira to buy bread because they are hungry. And somebody take them to court and then they are sentenced. So, which was why we started the diversion program. We started it in Ilukbeju, and then about 3 years later, Mushi local government adopted it. I'm not sure how many people are aware of the diversion program here, but when she talked about correctional center, some of the things that are not happening in these correctional centers, some of the things that are not happening in most of those places that she talked about, were the reason that we started this diversion program, so that these children can be better catered for. It's being run, and I will please encourage any of us that haven't been there, who doesn't know about it, to please ask questions and find time to go to this diversion program. Professor Oguniran had facilitated quite a number of programs for us. And this is not something many Nigerians, even though, you know, medical doctors, lawyers, this is not something a lot of them are interested in. So anytime we have fund and we give fund to OPD, for example, Ministry of Youth, the question I always ask is, please, this have to do with legal professional. Can you get in touch with Professor Oguniran and make sure she's a facilitator in that program? And she has always been very, very willing and will come around and will facilitate a program for us. I really thank her for the kind of work she's doing. She has also assisted us in making a lot of contribution to the family court rules, which we have today in Nigeria. Lagos State is one of the states that have the family court rule. And as you heard from Professor Caroline, her meeting, I think the last 2 times she visited Nigeria to work here, the first question she always asked me is, Dennis, can you please find out whether Professor Oguniran is going to be in town? And I said, So, Prof, why are you asking whether she? Because I would like to meet her when I come, and she have to be part of this project we want to implement. In other words, she's not coming if we are not sure that Professor Oguniran is in town. So, I thank you very much, madam, for the work you are doing to support what we do. It's a very, very interesting thing. And I think the last thing I will want to talk about is that this project is something that my sections will particularly be interested in. I'm going to take a copy of this book and ensure that my chief get it in Abuja today. We've been discussing recently in the office about how to support the correctional centers. Some of the things I have what you talked about are things UNICEF is interested in. So you can be sure that this is something we are going to reach you and we are going to discuss with you. So I'm endorsing this work on behalf of UNICEF, not me as staff. So on behalf of UNICEF, I'm endorsing it, and you will be hearing from us. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you very much. You spoke it all very clearly and loudly true. This is a project that is what supports at every level, what support at every level. The voice of a child must be heard. We're going to have one more person before we have the guest of honors address, just about 2 minutes from the Honorable Commissioner's representative. But before then, let's call on Mr. Babajide Martins, Director of Public Prosecution, who also come here to give his own endorsement of the program. I'm so sorry about that. Dr. Babajide Martins, God bless you. It's not bread and butter, I understand. Please come, please. A round of applause for Dr. Babajide Martins. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm standing on existing protocol. It's such a great pressure to be here. And I was in court earlier. I had to rush down from the court. Myself and Prof had gone a long way, also because of our professional relationship, and also because we are also related outside the professional. Prof is married to my Kim. So I've known, also we are both at UNILAG, great Hakokites, yes. So I'm showing off now because you said you've known Prof for 16 years. I've known Prof as far back as 80s that we're UNILAG together, yes. And she's such a tremendous, dedicated academic, and also somebody who is quite passionate about children matters. I remember when I was Director of Public Defender, I always consult Prof, especially when I have situations where children have been illegally removed from Nigeria because they have fathers who are non-Nigerians, who always lay claim to their rights too. And issues of international often arise. And I also know that when I was in OPD as director, Prof also had facilitated some of our training for us at the support of UNICEF. So it's quite a tremendous opportunity and work as well. I've not been able to read it through, but I haven't flashed through. And I saw the executive summary. Obviously, it speaks to what I do as a Director of Public Prosecutions. The advantage I have now is that I've been Director of Public Defender, where I have children as my primary, purpose of protecting them. But my job is now switched now, and I have children who are in conflict with the law. So at times when I'm talking to some of my team, they say, "Oh, Oga, you are no more in OPD. You are sounding like OPD lawyer now." When I'm saying, "Look, we can't do this because it's a child." I think some of the issues that Prof has identified is very, very important. The need to separate children who are in conflict with law and children who are to be protected because of their vulnerability. I think we need to do that. And I haven't been privileged to work in a similar environment where that distinction is quite maintained. I think I need to also convey that paramount message. And I'm sure government is aware of that. Government is trying its best to overcome that problem of the need to keep children in conflict with the law and children that need protection of the law. As it is now, we have sort of artificial segregation because of the challenges of logistic and facility. So that's one of the takeaway that I know Prof has alluded to. And also the other challenge I have as a prosecutor is because most children who are in conflict with the law, who have been sent to correctional service outside Lagos, i.e. Adigbe, it's always very difficult to bring them to court. And when you don't have the logistic support to bring them to court, then it's impede on their rights to, quick and fair hearing. And I think that's one thing that the correctional services need to look into. I think one of the suggestions that was made recently is to have a dedicated place where they can stand there and be tried virtually and not necessarily having to bring them to court. But I think it's a very, very notable work. It's one of those things that I'm very, very interested in, and I will also be engaging Prof on further collaborations on what to do to enhance the interest and protection of children. I don't know if Prof alluded mine to, just like in other jurisdictions, you have a commissioner for children. I think that's something that we need to do. We have a commissioner for children in England and other jurisdictions, which serves as an ombudsman for dealing with all issues that relate to protection of children. And I think it's very, very important that we need to move towards that direction. Although I'm not one of those people who think something that works abroad must always be used. But if it's contextualized and there's need for it, I think probably when the child's right law is being amended, I think there is need for an appointment of a commissioner for children who would have an overarch, role in protecting, and will also be able to bring class action, litigation in protection of children. And also local government as well also needs to also do more, obviously, because most children place of first contact is usually at the local government before getting in touch with the state government. And I know there are provisions in that law that give responsibility to local government. The extent to which that is being complied, I'm unable to comment on it because I haven't done any study in relation to that compliance. So, Prof, I wish you all the best, and I know there is more to come, and I also pledge my collaboration and support. I always do, because apart from being a colleague of mine, she's also my wife as well, because she's married to my Edmond. So it's a double leverage that Prof has with me as well. I wish you all the best, and thank you. Yeah. Yes, sir.
Right.
Oh, definitely. The advice come in 2 weeks' time. No. Oh, Prof knows now. DPP advice come. DPP advice come in 2 weeks. I'm an indefatigable DPP. Go and check with the courts. And I'm not bluffing. Anybody who has written and request for DPP advice and hasn't got it, my phone call is there, 070-860-99900. I'll get my officer to get it done here and there. I mean, things has tremendously improved, and I'm not taking the glory. I have an incredible, dedicated team of lawyers that work with me, and also the Attorney General is such a fantastic man. Probably because a career civil servant, he's given me free hand to run the DPP office. He doesn't tell me this is what you must do, this is what you must do. Prior to, I didn't enjoy that kind of free hand, being able to do my work. So there shouldn't be anybody that say DPP legal advice is delayed. Please contact me. Delay keko possible. Unless if the police prosecutor has a vested interest in it, or the registrar of the court has a, when we send it to court, we give copy to the police, we give copy to the registrar. If the registrar sits on it without giving it to the magistrate, there isn't much I can do. But once it, in fact, as a matter of fact, you can apply for legal advice online and you get copy So you don't have to physically come to the office. You can apply online and pay 1,000 and get a copy. I mean, it will make my position untenable if, with my experience and whatever, I haven't enhanced the office. I would resign. Seriously, I'm that serious if I see that the office has not been enhanced. Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
very much. Brilliant man. Brilliant man. Dr. Matt, thank you very much. I mean, well said, well put. Just the problem. Hello. Wow. Great affair. Great affair. That's it all. That's okay. That's okay. That's okay. Let's leave it at that. All right. Please, at this point, I just want to hear from the representative of our special guest, the representative of the Mr. Honorable Mobolaji Ogunlende, Commissioner for Youth and Social Development, Lagos State, Mr. Diabolo Folanshaw, just to give us the last word of endorsement. Thank you.
That morning is not actually. Is it morning? Say that we hurry. Please permit me to start on the already established protocol. The Honorable Commissioner, Lagos State Ministry of Youth and Social Development, is unavoidably absent, and he sent his greetings and congratulations to Dr. Iyabode Oguniro. Professor, I'm sorry. Professor Oguniro is a friend of the house. She's been partnering with the ministry for some time now, and she has been of help ministry in the area of child protection and child rights law of Lagos State. Going to the findings, we want to appreciate her effort, but we also want to say that some of these findings are not strange to the ministry, because we also have a government unit. And so we are familiar with some of these findings of hers. And I would like to say that as recent as last week, Thursday, the Director of Social Welfare, in a meeting with her heads of, actually formed a committee to look at the different categories of children that are together in our facilities. I can actually do without it.
Okay.
Yes. So, meaning that we are also passionate about addressing the issues that Professor Oguniro has shared with us in this meeting. That aside, it is important to know that despite our challenges, we've also been able to record so many success stories. Some of the children that have passed through our centers and some that are still there, we can say that they are being looked after and responding positively. Some of them are in federal institutions of learning, universities in Nigeria on scholarship. We have those that have graduated even with first class. And some of them have been absorbed by the Lagos State government. They are now into the Lagos State Public Service. They are gainfully employed. And we've also monitored some of them to the extent that today they've been married, and they have integrated properly into the society. And we can give kudos to a particular in the ministry who is tasked with reintegration and talking about human integration unit. So after spending some time, or whether they have completed their time or whatever it is, we don't abandon them on their own. There's a unit that is responsible for their proper reintegration. And so that means that even after they have been discharged from our center, if we notice a case of a relapse, we always go back to kind of reabsorb them and ensure that they go through treatment all over again. So today, we can boast of the fact that we are not doing badly. We are not doing badly. But then the findings of Professor Oguniro will propel us to do more and ensure that our children are better for it at the end of the day. Thank you.
Beautiful, wonderful, beautiful. Thank you very much, the representative of Honorary Commissioner for Youth and Social Development in Lagos State. Yes, Professor, thank you. Now, I would like to bring on Honorable Justice Folami to come and give the remarks before we have the vote of thanks. Milord, you're welcome.
Good morning to us all. This is a very nice audience, very rich participation, and we've all listened to the presentation by Prof. What I want to say, she's asked me to give concluding remarks. It was just impromptu. What I want to say is that I'm one of the trustees. You saw me being introduced at the beginning of the program. But you know, about like this, or when you are doing a lot of work, people come during the presentation and everything seems, you know, hunky-dory, very nice. But I just want us all to commend this professor that we're looking at by giving her a round of applause. And the reason why I say that is that more than 5 years, more than 7 years of work has gone into what we're seeing here today. You all agree with me? Because I've been with her closely along the way. Registration of the center, choosing the trustees, all of the work she did. Look at the research. She just spoke easily this morning. But a lot of work has gone into what, you know, she has presented today. And I want to commend you for that, Professor Oguniro. Her husband was my professor in the university, so I've known him for many years. But I also worked with her when I was in the University of Lagos, my master's degree. Then I started my PhD there, although I concluded somewhere else. So I've been with her for a very long time. And I really appreciate this work she's doing. Not only that, I appreciate the simplicity that she has put into the work, because she has told us all we can all assist in very little ways. We can go and visit these children. We can assist them by buying textbooks. If we have the funds, we can help them by providing internet connectivity for can I have some water, please? Professor, I had to give her water when she was talking, and now she needs to give me some water too. Sorry. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I have a terrible cough, so that's why. So, like I said, simple ways that she has pointed out. Internet connectivity, they don't have it. And then something else she said to us that doctor can help us with, Dr. Martins. I commend him. And what he said is true. I can give testimony that he really, really is up and doing. And I've had many times in my court, I had to call on him. There's this matter, fundamental human rights. There's this issue. And, you know, his lawyers are there the next adjourned date and we're sorting it all out. So he's really been doing that. But one thing that Prof pointed out in her presentation was the issue of these child offenders. They now grow into adults. I don't know what we can call them. Adults, are we going to call them offenders? Because they end their it's not even a sentence. They end their period in these institutions and then they are not being released. She said that. And I think that's an area you can really help with. So I'm just here to give concluding remarks. And I know that all of what Prof has presented to us today, this is just the beginning of the journey. And I believe we're all going to be there with her because this is a journey that is worthwhile, is worth the while. And so I think we're all going to, if we all share her dream, her vision, we're all going to be with her for the long haul. And I thank the last speaker from the ministry. Was it from the Ministry of Youth and Social Development? I really thank you for that. And, you know, to show us that it's not as if she's just doing this work on her own. The ministry is well aware of all these issues and, you know, they are really working on it. So I commend you for what you have done today. And I, on behalf of all your trustees, the board, that we are in it with you for the long haul. Well done. Congratulations. Thank you for all that you do. And thank you, participants, for listening attentively to her. I really commend, you know, this work today. Thank you.
Rep. Millard, thank you very much. Before we go, just in about 2-3 minutes, we should leave this place. But before we go, I just would like to call on the chairman of Vocation, Chief Emeka, to give us a closing remark. Please, a round of applause for Chief Emeka, SAN, please.
Once again, ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you. I told the MC that my own type of chairman, you know, they have relegated me to the background. I said, well, for closure, let me also have one word. I need to thank the audience, thank the participants, all the guests that have contributed, all the stakeholders. You agree with me that today's occasion is a huge success. I have myself learned a lot. I have a lot of takeaways from this event, and it has made me now, I'll be paying more attention to that topic, that subject of child rights, the act, the law, and all the regulations and the conventions. So, Prof, I thank you for inviting me and now arousing my interest in this area. And then maybe as a stakeholder in legal education, maybe we'll start thinking about whether it will be an elective or a compulsory course. It's something that everybody needs to know about, even at the beginning of your legal education, maybe in your year 2. It should be a compulsory course. So I thank him for, you know, ensuring that I come here for this event, and I'm happy that the occasion was a grand success. All my friends here, Prof, my brother Sik, and all of them, I thank you very much for your attention, for your participation, and your contribution. May God bless us all. Thank you.
Thank you very much. That's the Chief Emeka Ngige, the chairman of the Council of Legal Education. So all lawyers, one way or the other, are affected by the policy that council makes in Nigeria. Thank you very much for that brilliant one. Right now, we have come to the end of this very successful journey of the launch of the Voice of the Child Law Center. And I'm going to call on no other person than Barrister Tomisin Ogoniro to come and do the opening closing remarks. Thank you. You got to the vote of thanks very much. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. On behalf of Professor Iyabode Oguniran and Mr. Hakeem Oguniran, I would like to, sorry? Professor Iyabode Oguniran and Mr. Hakeem Oguniran. I would like to propose a vote of thanks to all our esteemed guests. Sorry? To all our esteemed guests who took time out of their busy schedules to attend this launch, and to everyone who made this event successful in one way or another, either through volunteering, contributions, or donations. Throughout the course of this program, we have all seen that the voice of the Child Law Center was birthed from hard work, grit, and perseverance. And as we reflect on all we have heard today about children, vulnerable children, their rights, and recommendations on how to enhance their lives and protect them, I hope we're all challenged to make a positive impact towards improving the lives of children through our different spheres of influence. Once again, thank you all for coming, and I wish you all a safe journey back to your various destinations.
Tommy, thank you very much for helping me out. On behalf of, again, Professor Iyabode Oguniran and Mr. Kim Oguniran, please welcome and thank you very much for coming. God bless them. Please don't go. We need to have some photographs. Photographs, please, before you go. Please be part of the photograph so that it can be part of the record. Thank you very much.